always, welcome. You are in the presence of Big U, your boy, the Connoisseur, and this is another edition of the Open Bar Sports Talk. And today we're going to do some discussing of the NBA and what is happening now recently in that league. As you know, we always do it with a New York point of view, so we're going to focus on those Brooklyn Nets and those New York Knicks. Both of them played 2 games. The first game was against other teams. Second game was against each other just recently. And we do have a New York team with a victory. We'll get into that a little later. We have one New York team that's 0-2 and one New York team that is 1-1 that got a victory in the battle for the city, the New York battle. So let's get into that. Let's start with the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, so they come as advertised. You have Kyrie Irving leading the troops, leading the charge with what is supposed to be the more talented, better player-laden roster between the 2 teams. The Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie Irving, with DeAndre Jordan. Kevin Durant's not playing this year, but he is on that roster. With Spencer Dinwiddie, with Caris LeVert, and so on and so forth. Those guys, they come as advertised. Kyrie led the way in the first game. The boy dropped a 50-piece, man. That's 2 20-piece nuggets and a 10-piece, if I'm not mistaken. That boy had sweet and sour sauce. He had barbecue. He was working that honey mustard up in there, but he did his thing in that first game. But unfortunately, alas, the Minnesota Timberwolves were too much for those Brooklyn Nets, and they did catch that L for the first game. Minnesota, great team, a lot of talent, young team, and a team that Derrick Rose was on last year before he moved up, well, the year before last, before he moved on to the Pistons. And what he said leaving was that those young guys are very talented, but they do not take the game seriously enough. And they were out there for a lot of the game looking like they were taking the game plenty serious this time. Karl Anthony Towns was just too much for the Nets. They do have Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan, 2 bigs to just Karl Anthony Towns, but he was formidable and more than enough to get those guys over. I think he had 36 points and 14 rebounds. Damn it, Karl Anthony. How you let a Karl Anthony get 36 and 14 on you? He don't even sound like he should be signing checks or doing somebody's taxes or something like that. Karl Anthony, but he gets busy on the basketball court, and they outlasted the Nets. The Knicks in their first game were matched up against the San Antonio Spurs. The Greg Popovich coached San Antonio Spurs, always tough. He always has his teams ready to play, and they did not come out with a victory, but they did not look bad at all. The young boy, R.J. Barrett, looked great, had 21 points. Marcus Morris had 26 points to lead all scorers on the Knicks, and Julius Randle had 25 and 10. So he put that double-double up, that 20 and 10 that he has been giving the teams prior to the Knicks. He gave that same 20 and 10 to the Knicks. So if we can look to that moving forward, look for that, that'd be a good look for the Nets. But I think that just as a young team, they need to figure out what their identity is going to be, because where it fell apart in that first game was in down the stretch, because the Spurs knew that they scored their baskets through LaMarcus Aldridge and through DeMar DeRozan, with a little kick in from Brian Forbes, a young player who was hot from behind the line, scored 20. DeMar DeRozan was defended well. We did give him fits, make it hard for him to get what he wanted to get and do what he wanted to do, but he still did at the end of the game put in some clutch baskets that helped him pull out the victory. And LaMarcus Aldridge was who LaMarcus Aldridge is. He's been that way for years, pretty much consensus, all NBA type player, all-star multiple times, and he did what DeMarcus Aldridge does. On the Knicks side of things, outside of those top 3 that I was talking about, you also had contributions from Kevin Knox. Kevin Knox was 4 of 6 from 3. His jump shot is looking great. That was something that, coming out in his rookie season, people were saying they weren't sure if he was going to be able to shoot the ball from distance, if he was going to be able to consistently knock down the jump shot. And he seems to have that part of the game down. What I need for him to do is to step up and to put an effort in on that defensive end. Because defense is something that when I played, I hung my hat on. And people that play defense know that half of playing defense is just wanting to play defense. So I need for Kevin Knox to lock in, play defense. And speaking of defense, for that first game against the Spurs, we didn't even have Mitchell Robinson, who was the second leading shot blocker in the NBA last year, who is the anchor to our defense and the rim protector, so to speak. He was not there. So Bobby Portis held it down in that regard and did pretty decent in deterring the Spurs from getting layups, but it still wasn't the same as if Mitchell Robinson would have been there, and they did get some clutch baskets and layups and things of that nature that I don't think would have happened if Mitchell Robinson was there. So, in that second game, hopefully he would make a difference. Knicks players that I need to check themselves and get it together. We got Dennis Smith Jr. Didn't play a lot of minutes, and I know that he's coming off of an injury, so I will excuse his first game, but he was looking kind of lost out there. Shots that he was taking weren't shots that Dennis Smith Jr. normally takes. As a slasher, as an aggressive to-the-basket type of player, he was making a bunch of moves, shooting fadeaway jump shots and things of that nature. That's not his game. If you want to practice new shots that you learn in the summertime, working on your game, the time to do that is not in the clutch time or in a highly contested regular season game. You need to work on that in practice, get those things down there, and then maybe try to break them out sparingly, throughout your appearances in the Knicks lineup. Wayne Ellington, I know that he is a good three-point shooter. In this first game that I watched him, he looked kind of erratic, shooting a whole bunch. I understand that you can shoot, but that doesn't mean that every time you touch the ball, you must shoot. And I think that they need to rein him in a little bit and give him the ball when they want him to shoot, because by the looks of things, it looks like he heard Bombers championship coach. All you got to do is give me the rock. That's a above the rim reference for all y'all that know. But I think that he'll be okay as long as they use him the way that he should be used. He is a knockdown shooter. They need to drive and kick, get him open, and I think he'll be okay. And my last person that I need to send a message out is to Frank Money. Now, I've always been a big proponent, a big fan of Frank Money, rooting for him. When people were saying he was trash, he was garbage, he had to go, I was like, no. He's a great defender, and he needs to hang his hat on that and then build his game out from there. In the limited minutes that he had, he looked confused. He was not confident. He did not affect the game in any positive manner, and he looked like he was trying to figure out what he was supposed to be doing. When you get on that court, Frank, you know what you're doing. You're a defender, so you wreak havoc on that defensive end. On the offensive end, they may complain, oh, he doesn't shoot well, he doesn't this, but that's not what's going to keep you on the court, so that's not where you focus or where you hang your hat. So, you get a wide open jump shot, you knock that down. If you want to make a move to the basket, you make a decisive move, but he looked confused. He looked like he was not confident at all, and he didn't know what he was doing, so I'm going to need you to, be Frank Money. They gave you a nickname, live up to that nickname, man. Be confident and play your game, because your game got you this far, and I think that it's a game that the Knicks need defense. We need you to do that, especially with the personality of this team, with the personality of the city. Gritty, grimy, we fight. We struggle, we push, we scrap, and I think that you can do all those things on the defensive end. So do that and stop worrying about your offense. So, after the first set of games, the Knicks and the Nets both were 0-1. But tonight, they met each other. And after that game, you knew one of the New York teams had to be 1-1 and one had to be 0-2. Unfortunately for me, because you guys know I'm go New York Knicks. The Nets came out on top. It was a highly contested game. The Knicks went down big early. They were down 16, 17 points. And this is one thing that was good about the team that we have now, because in the past, that was a recipe for defeat. Once the Knicks go down, they stay down. But this team seems to have fight in them, and they claw back. But again, the same way they did in the first game, the greenness, the young players, how fresh they were and inexperienced, that shone through in the end of the game. They were not able to bring it home down the stretch where I think for the last 3 minutes or so, for the last 5 or 6 possessions, they were scoreless. And they didn't even get anything going toward the basket or an offensive end that looked like it would threaten the Nets to score. And it came down to superstars because Kyrie Irving, who had not played that great for the first 3 quarters, down the stretch scored 5 in a row in a crucial time that catapulted the Nets to victory. So, and all in all, again, I'm a Knicks fan. So on our side, RJ Barrett played great again. That boy is solid. Needs to work on his jump shot. If he can get that jump shot consistent, then the league would need to be on notice after that, because he can get to the basket pretty much at will. He's a willing and able defender. Like I said, defense, 50% of defense is wanting to play defense, and he seems to want to be active and effective on the offense and the defensive side of the ball, and he's doing that. Kevin Knox was knocking down threes and doing what he needed to do in the game when he got in there. Alonzo Trier, ISO Zoe, great showing for him this game. I think he was one of the leading scorers. He only missed 1 or 2 shots from the floor in the game. Struggled kind of from the line. Shot like 6 for 10 or 6 for 11 or something like that from the line. But from the floor, he was like 7 for 8 or 7 for 9. Pretty impressive with 20 some odd points. That guy looked good, and I heard that he doesn't like the ISO Zoe moniker because he feels like he could do so much more outside of just isolation basketball. But I would say that it's a great nickname to me. Take it, run with it, and just show people with your game what you can do. But don't let that bother you. I think it's a cool nickname, ISO Zoe. It's cool. In isolation, he is a problem, but he does offer much more than that. He's an active defender. He's an aggressive player, and he's always willing to do whatever it is at any time, to try to get the win for the team. Julius Randle did not have a great show in this game. I think that it's like heavy is the head that wears the crown, because you can tell that they have a lot of lofty expectations for him. He is the highest paid, biggest contract getting player on the New York Knicks right now, and he stepped into the role and embraced the role of wanting to be the leader, wanting to be an all-star, and wanting to do all of these positive things for the Knicks. But I think that he's trying to force his way into those spaces where these things could become possible, instead of just letting it come to him more organically at his size, with his athleticism and ability that he has with his motor. I think that if he would just chill out, let the game come to him, he could do great, get more catches in the post where he could get easy baskets. I don't know if this is something this is the new NBA, I guess, I'm pretty sure of it, but everybody catches the ball on the 3-point line and is making all these moves, spin move up, fake crossover, all this kind of stuff, when with a big body, big strong body like Julius Randle, that's not necessary. You can catch the ball down in close to the basket, make a quick move, and then get a chippy, get an easy basket that could warm up if you want to shoot a 3 or, whatever else you might want to do outside of that. But again, the Knicks look good, the Nets look promising. Neither one of these teams, I think, will be making major noise in the push toward the end of the season, but both of them will be entertaining. And props to the Brooklyn Nets, even though I'm a Knicks fan and I wish that the Knicks did win that game. Alas, somebody has to be the loser, and tonight it was my Knickerbockers. But still, go New York, go Knicks tape and all of that. You know where we got to end this at. Melo. Still not on the roster. Nobody's picked him up yet. The Knicks, I think, have a full roster, but there is not anybody who should be safe on that roster if Melo makes a phone call, or somebody might need to make a phone call to Melo, because we do need that veteran presence in the locker room, consummate professional, the offensive spark that he could give, and just showing these guys day to day how to be professional, how to prepare, how to come to work each day and get better and go about becoming an efficient and effective NBA player, man. I think that somebody needs to make that call for Melo, get him back to New York. He's a New Yorker. He can show these guys the ropes, the streets, where to go, what to do, and all of that. And, I think, give Melo a call, man. I don't think that we would be, I don't think we would regret that move if the Knicks were to do that. But the offense does look good. Defense needs to shape up, or the Knicks are going to ship out. So that's it for the Open Bar Sports Talk. I am Connoisseur Big U, and as always, when you see the connoisseurs out and about, the conversation, the drinks, shoot the shit, all of that, the sports talk is on the house. And until next time, thanks for hanging out with me, man. Peace.